Hello, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to the channel once more. Anyway, in this, I'm announcing the joyous tidings that Suella Braverman's time shall not be long in the Home Office. You know, she's Secretary of State for Home Affairs. That's in charge of things like immigration, policing, prisons, passports, and so forth in the United Kingdom, and indeed national security. She's the one that MI5 is answerable to. So if they need things, permission to whatever, carry out whatever espionage operation, eavesdropping, she's the one who has to sign off for it, get up in the middle of the night possibly to physically sign the document, which is why she got 24/7 security and will do the rest of her life. So she's a relatively young cabinet minister. She's, I think, the only ever Buddhist elected to the British House of Commons. But she's failing on multiple fronts. Her flagship policy was BB Stockholm, as well as the Rwanda plan. The Rwanda plan was if people came to the United Kingdom illegally claiming asylum, they'd be then flown to Rwanda and they would be processed there because these things can take a year and a half to do. And if their claims are accepted, I think they'd be allowed back to the United Kingdom. If not, they would be booted out. So the idea is you wouldn't get so much time in the United Kingdom, it'd be a lot cheaper because the cost of housing and feeding people, providing with education, healthcare, and so forth in Rwanda is meant to be much, much lower. A Commonwealth country which adopted English as its official language in the late 90s, a quondam Belgian colony, which used to be Francophone, but they wanted to reject their France-Afrique policy, which is why they ditched the French language. But anyway, this is something that she's doubled down on. She's banging on and on and on about how this is a many splendid thing. And it will convince people not to cross the English Channel because they will know they will not get into the United Kingdom, which is not quite true. But anyway, hundreds of millions of pounds have been spent. There have been legal challenge after legal challenge, and they haven't deported a single person. Now, I mean, I supported the Rwanda plan, but it's patently not working. So I think they've got to have to come up with a plan B. Might have to process somewhere else. Let's talk about being Zambia. I mean, I don't know which would be suitable countries. But people say Rwanda is quite dangerous. It's too underdeveloped. It just doesn't have the healthcare and education for its own people. It can scarcely afford to do this for people claiming asylum. I mean, the United Kingdom would pick up the tab, but they may not have the facilities or the staff there to do it. So I don't think it's going to get off the ground. And there's a record number of people coming to the United Kingdom, and something like 700,000 a year. Some of that's legal immigration, fine. But this from a government which said it was going to get net immigration down to below 100,000 a year. That's about 10 years ago. Has never come anywhere remotely even close to that. So now some of this is because people who are coming from Hong Kong because of the oppression in Hong Kong, or some of the Afghan refugees, the Ukrainian refugees. So all right, over the last 18 months, there has been an exceptional situation. But there are bits where it hasn't been exceptional and the government has patently failed. And obviously the United Kingdom needs immigration. Immigration can be fantastic, but obviously too much of it can start to be harmful because there's just too much pressure on social services, on housing and everything else. And can cause disharmonious relations. I know seeking asylum is not the same thing, but I know people sometimes bogusly claim asylum when they simply are economic migrants and they don't come the right way. They know they would be rejected because they don't have the necessary qualifications to make it likely that they would have their application to come to the United Kingdom accepted. So there's greater pressure. There was an illegal crossing across the French Channel. It sank off the coast of France just yesterday, and 6 people died. A lot of people were rescued. So they're people smugglers smuggling people across on these dangerous, leaky boats. I remember the United Kingdom said it was going to stop the boats in January this year. Rishi Sunak, part of his reboot for the government, said stopping the boats was a core priority. Well, there's absolutely no sign that is happening. If anything, it's stepped up. So that is a colossal failure in anybody's books. Anyway, so it was only 12 miles off the San Gut when it sank, and some of them went down to Davy Jones's locker. But the French Coast Guards were able to save 54 lives. So Bridget Phillipson, she's a Labour MP, and she's correctly said that these people smugglers are running rings around His Majesty's government. And the asylum backlog is really bad. It's 18 months. It's getting longer and longer and longer. And there might just be an asylum an amnesty. Just say, okay, we accept you, just release you because they can't cope with it. That was done in John Major about 30 years ago, the Conservative Prime Minister. So it's really not looking good for Suella Braverman. So Cruella, some people call her. She had a stellar academic career, went to an independent school in London, went to Cambridge and read law, got a double first, and then was a barrister. I think she got an honorary KC now, King's Counsel, because she's a sort of front-right politician, she's a barrister. elected to Parliament when she was about 35, an ethnic minority woman representing Fareham, which is in Hampshire, an area which is 99% white. So her maiden name was Fernandez, but she's married to, I think it's a Jewish man. And is it Braverman or Braverman? I've heard it pronounced Braverman. And she says, oh, anti-Semitic comments are against me because my husband's Jewish, and so on. So she's the face of multi-ethnic Britain, the new, more inclusive Conservative Party. So a really poster girl for modern Toryism. And precisely because he's ethnic minority, it's been difficult to call her a racialist, where she says, no, we stand firm on illegal immigration. And of course, it's a bit of a wedge issue. She's an anti-wokester, and she was denouncing the tofu-eating wokerati in a rather unconvincing rant in Parliament some months ago. But it's a bit surprising she's still there. She's so dismally failed. And there are obviously rumblings amongst her own party. She's performed decidedly abysmally. So the Conservatives obviously looking forward, well, not with some trepidation, towards December 2024, the likely date of the next Westminster general election, when the Conservatives will probably be sent packing. Rishi Sunak probably sentenced to resignation at dawn as the results filter in, and go to tender his resignation that midday to His Britannic Majesty and advise him to send for Sir Keir Starmer in the capacity of the First Lord of the Treasury, Minister for the Union, Minister for the Civil Service, and whilst I'm at it, Prime Minister. So Rishi Sunak will stand down as Conservative Party leader. He's had his one shot in election. He's lost it. That's it. Okay, he had a good innings. He served about 2 years as Prime Minister, far more than anybody else achieves. His place in the history books is assured the first non-white Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the first non-Christian Prime Minister. And the race will be on who's going to be the next Tory leader. And Suella Braverman would be one of those people who'd be going for it. She'd be a hopeful partly because she had put down her marker. She stood last time and she came fourth, if memory serves. But because she's performed so appallingly as Home Secretary, I don't think she's going to get it. I mean, Kemi Badenoch will probably pick up the mantle of the anti-woke brigade. So yeah, I think she's going to have to go quite soon because she has failed and she has to carry the can for that. Who's responsible if she's not? There's individual cabinet responsibility. And backbench MPs like Sir Jake Berry said they're going to have to take drastic action. So what on earth are we going to do? The Bibi Stockholm people, a few people were on that. They brought off it very quickly, and it's how can they house all these people cheaply? So there's an illegal immigration bill that Mrs. Braverman is trying to put through the House of Commons, and it said that the legal Home Secretary have a legal duty to detain and remove anybody who comes into the United Kingdom illegally. All right, so the United Kingdom is already paying France £500 million over the next 3 years to pay for more patrol officers and a detention centre to try and people stop crossing the English Channel. And it's also a very, very dangerous shipping lane with over 800 vessels going through the Pas de Calais each day in between France and the United Kingdom. So these people could easily be killed. Right, so thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.